The Article 3 project. Mike Davis, welcome to the Gorka Reality Check.
Thank you for having me.
Mike, you've done legion work in talking about the truth of who these judges are. Let's just talk about some of them. We'll put their pictures up on the screen. We've got Alvin Bragg, who campaigned on putting Trump in prison, who accepted donations from George Soros as he was running to be the prosecutor for Manhattan. Of course, we've got Fani Willis in Georgia. We've got Judge Engoron, that lunatic judge from the so-called real estate case. We've got Jack Smith, the Fed, the arch anti-Trump Fed, and then, of course, Judge Merchan himself. Is there any doubt to the president's comment that these are the Biden trials, Mike?
There's no question these Democrats, prosecutors in the Biden Justice Department waited 30 months to bring these bogus criminal prosecutions against a former president. And the only reason they did it is because President Trump was going to run for president. These are the first indictments ever against a former president. And this is Democrat lawfare and election interference. It is driven directly by President Joe Biden. His fingerprints are on all four of these criminal prosecutions. Jonathan Sue, Biden's deputy White House counsel, waived Trump's claim of executive privilege, constitutional executive privilege going back 250 years to George Washington, which led to Jack Smith's 2 indictments. You had Matthew Colangelo going from the number 3 office in the Biden Justice Department to Soros-funded Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg's office to bring the indictment. And we're in week 4 of that criminal trial right now. And Nathan Wade, Fulton County DA Fani Willis's unqualified dumb boyfriend, billed 16 hours of his time at $250 an hour to meet with the Biden White House, including the Biden White House counsel, before Fani Willis brought her indictment against Trump. This is Biden lawfare and election interference.
And then Judge Merchan, who donated to Joe Biden's campaign, whose daughter is raising millions of dollars off Democrats like Adam Schiff and Kamala Harris, as her father is presiding over this case against President Trump. The idea that a judge uses a gag order to gag the defendant, can you comment on that, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, gag orders are supposed to protect criminal defendants going through a criminal process, not the government. You gag witnesses like Michael Cohen in a limited time, place, and manner restriction on First Amendment rights, on constitutional rights, to ensure the criminal defendant in a very limited manner enjoys his constitutional rights to due process and a fair trial. The Democrats have flipped the Constitution on its head by gagging a criminal defendant. If anyone needs the constitutional right to speak out about the judge, the prosecutor, the staff, the witnesses, their biases, a corrupt process, it is a criminal defendant.
Stay with us, Mike. I want to talk about not just what's happening in the courts, but what's happening in federal law enforcement, and bring in one of the handful of brave FBI whistleblowers. Garrett O'Boyle, welcome to Newsmax.
Dr. Gorka, always good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
So you're wearing the badge of the suspendables, brave men like you, like Kyle Seraphin, like Steve Friend, who have testified before Congress on how Biden's administration, the federal government, the FBI, the DOJ have been not just targeting President Trump, but patriots in general who support him. I want to praise the Heritage Foundation. I recommended to them to have a whole-day seminar on the weaponization of federal law enforcement in the intelligence community. We have, I think, B-roll of you speaking there. Steve Friend spoke there as well. An amazing event. We'll be talking to the director of the oversight project at the Heritage Foundation in a moment. But you and your colleagues amongst the suspendables have used a phrase that I think we need to unpack here, that applies to the president, applies to Catholics who are going to Latin Mass enrichment. This phrase, the process is the punishment. Can you expand upon that, Garrett?
Of course, it absolutely is. And, for me, I want to touch on something the prophet Isaiah said. He said, "Justice is turned back and righteousness stands far away, for truth has stumbled in the public square." And that is part of what this process being the punishment is. As an FBI agent, me, Kyle, Steve, Marcus Allen, there are others, when you bring things forward that you have a reasonable belief that are wrong, potentially even violative of the law, you're supposed to be protected to do that. But the FBI and other agencies too, pretty much every bureaucratic agency we see now, because we see it with the IRS whistleblowers as well, they will target you for trying to bring the truth forward, for trying to hold the government accountable, which when you swear that oath to the Constitution, part of that oath is saying, I will hold the government accountable to the Constitution as well. And so when you actually try to do that, they come and they target you, just like they're targeting Donald Trump. Just, the justice is lacking across the board, and it's being used by a government that is completely weaponized at this point to come for anybody that they perceive to be an enemy. So when you try to do what is right...
Explain to the viewers, Garrett, what was it that you saw and that you blew the whistle on?
There were a number of things, Dr. Gorka. One of them was this threat tag about parents who were attending school board meetings. There was another threat tag in the wake of the Dobbs decision, which overturned Roe versus Wade. I blew the whistle about a January 6th case that I received where the FBI told me that they had a facial recognition match, although they used a photograph that was 25 years old to say that this was my subject, which clearly is a due process violation. And there are a handful of other things too. I mean, the list is relatively long at this point, and some of them I am not able to yet talk about, but there are 10 to 15 things probably that I took to Congress. And even still, we're coming up on a year from when Steve and I testified, and what's been done? Not a whole lot.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about exactly that issue later in the show. What have the GOP done to actually stop the weaponization of law enforcement and intelligence agencies? Mike, back to you. I personally don't think the FBI, the one that Kyle and Garrett have revealed for us, is salvageable. You look at the raid on Mar-a-Lago. How does an FBI agent say to the local, superior that, yes, I'm going to take my loaded gun and I'm going to raid the former president's home as some kind of Gestapo police for the Biden administration? That's my personal opinion. But there's a bigger issue I'd like us to close out here. Mike, can we solve this with just an election? Or how much is the problem of political judges on the left and also cowardly judges on the right a longer-term issue?
It is a major problem, and I would say to these people who think that this lawfare and election interference is going to go away if Trump goes away, they're going after not only Trump, his top aides, his lawyers, January 6th supporters, people who trespassed and took selfies on January 6th, parents outraged by gender chaos in schools and the resulting rapes and high school bathrooms, Christians, including little old ladies praying outside of abortion clinics while the law enforcement gives amnesty to Biden, Hunter, James. It seems like every Biden family member's on the take from foreign corruption. You have Antifa, Hamas, BLM, abortion industry activists, trans terrorists. We have a major problem in America with a politicized and weaponized justice system, and this is how our country is going to fail if we do not stop this.
Well, I salute both of you. Please follow Mike at the Article 3 Project website, and you can support